Eurobike 2023, come with us if you want to see some of the greatest mountain bike tech. I'm going to start right here. Okay, so you know me, I'm going to talk about tools. I love tools. There's going to be park tools, there's going to be other tools, but we're starting right here with park. This is going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour because, as usual, like Topeak, they've just got so many new tools because there's new things happening. So something very simple but very cool from my perspective is this tool up here. Now, at some point, all you mechanics out there would have had something slip, namely if you're using an old bottom bracket spanner, something like that. And sometimes you smash your knuckles, sometimes you damage the component of the bottom bracket you're trying to take out. This is a dedicated clamp. It works with all the BB sockets, of which there are some new fittings available for e-bikes and such. Just a good, simple piece of kit. I'm sure many of you would have had a homemade version of one of those at home, but hey, works great. Right, moving across here. In fact, we've seen this, the PS1 before. I've been using one of these for a long time now. Actually, essentially a bit of disc rotor, so you don't have to forever put your wheel back in the frame again when you're testing your brakes or trying to get the bike point exactly where you want it. Now you've got the derailleur alignment hanger tool here. This is the latest one, so this is a more traditional one. In fact, I've got one of these from way back that looks a bit different to that one as well. So a couple of things that were hard to work about that is when you screw that into your derailleur hanger and move it around, you constantly have to move this in and out to get around frame components like the swing arm of the bike, things like that. This time, you can just literally move it out of the way. So I've designed it to be better to use. It's also made by a seat post manufacturer, and this, just a random little thing, this is the same thread bore on here as you get on Schrader valve cap, so you can put your chosen valve caps on there too. Nice stuff. Right, okay, they've also got, well, I think I've talked about this on the tech show before, new fittings basically for their bleed kit. So you've got everything for all the brakes out there. That one I think is for those new campy brakes on the market. Now they've also got these new bleed blocks, so when you buy their bleed kit, it comes with these with a 12 and a 10, but you can also get an 11 now because, well, apparently some people don't want a 10, some people don't want a 12. They want to go in the middle, so it's all about choice. I've said before on my own social media that I love those. It's a great thing. Right, let's quickly move on because I could keep going forever on this stuff. As you imagine, there's loads of new stuff. So you're crimping down an inner cable. What better to do it than the specific tool for it? But the cool thing about this is it's got two edges. You've got the sideways one and you've got the end-on one. So say for example, you've got your trim your cable really sort of flush on the inside of a dropper post, you can get right in there with that and super good. Right, let's move on. Let's go this way. Wheel jigs, we've actually shown this one on the tech show a while back. You can actually have your adapters and sit them in the actual wheel jig arms themselves, so no more losing them under the pile of stuff. And in fact, something else to make your life a little easier, if you go to the back here, they have, this is really for those who've got pro spec workshops or bike shops out there, for getting tools and sockets off the side. Get them off the worktop. You don't need that stuff in your way when you're working. Yeah, basically get stuff off the wall. Happy days. Now the tequila lovers out there will love these because it's made from the same fibres from an agave plant. Essentially they don't trap oil, which is a huge thing as far as bike cleaning brushes go because you're cleaning things that are really oily and that. I mean, there's something out there for everyone. They've even got sponge here for applying stuff to the brushes, but it's all about this one for me. You obviously get a set for different purposes, but I'm a big fan of a big brush with nice soft bristles on there so you don't scratch your paintwork. Random tech quiz question. What is the name of the Michelin man that's walking over there? Let us know in the comments down there if you know. Now, although Eurobike is about shiny new bikes that you can go and buy or maybe save up and buy, what I really like to see is work in progress, prototype bikes like this from Rock Machine. Now this one's named just a Whiz prototype, and their whole aim for this is it's suitable for anyone and it can do anything. It's a concept bike at the moment, it's not production, it's actually CNC machined in two parts and put together. The cool thing about this, you can see the floating shock mount on the top tubes that enables you to run different eye-to-eye shocks on there. So you can run anything from, they're saying 140, 160 to 180 rear wheel travel on there, and it has a whole host of great features. So I'm just going to zip down here for a minute. Right, so the back end on the bike is exactly the same as I have on an e-bike prototype just over there. And as you can see, there's cable ports that aren't even in finalised positions. But something that I really like about this is when you actually buy this bike, it's going to be shipped with external cable routing, and the internal is an option. So it will have it on the bike, but it's up to you if you want to use it. That pleases me immensely that a bike is not focusing around hiding stuff. They're designing it to be easy to work on and easy to change stuff. You've got a flip chip down here by the bottom bracket, just on the back of the linkage. You've got a little mud fender on the back here. You've got that linkage that drives the shock. As I said, you can change the shock mount on there. You've got an oversized head tube on there, so you can put angle sets in there and change the head tube angle on the bike. And it's just like an awesome looking bike that's future proof, arguably. replaceable dropouts at the back, so standards change, or you want to upgrade to a wider system at the back or a different bolt through, you can do that as well. Basically, they're designing this bike to be a sort of bike you buy it and you don't need anything else for a while. But as I said, this one is a rough and raw prototype, but in my eyes, that looks awesome. Production won't look anything like this. It's just a working mule. Super cool. Now this is something pretty special. So we talked about these before on the tech show, the Prime bikes. Now this one's the Thunder Flash. Now you might have seen Prime recently with Taylor Vernon racing them at the UCI World Cup downhill races. Do you know what? I'd almost forgotten they exist. They go under the radar, but look at this thing. The paint finish on this, absolutely beautiful. So this is running 165mm travel on the rear, 170 up front, shade under 64 degrees on the head angle there. About 76 on the seat angle, 445mm chain stays using a dual link system. The lower linkage is actually made from carbon fibre on this, and the paint job on these is hand done. So every single one of these, the paint flick on that is going to be different and unique to the ones you get. You've got a lifetime warranty on the frame, you've got a 5-year crash replacement policy as well for the original owner on here. I mean, the frame is, as you can see, is something else. There's something very cool I just want to point out is the cable ports on this. So obviously you get some riders and racers that run your front brake on the right, some that run it on the left-hand side. You can actually choose how you want to route the braking and basically your brake lines and your hoses through here, and get super neat cable routing direct into the frame there. Obviously notice it's got O-lins front and rear on here, and you've got Industry 9 wheels with the Hydra hubs on there with 690 points of engagement. Now that hub is one of the most incredible things. It actually uses the flex in the system to engage it even stronger, so you're never going to get any slipping on the inside of their hubs. Now I've made an exploded video with one of these hubs before, so you can actually find out exactly how the inside works, because unlike many manufacturers that try and fight the rear flex, they embrace it and use it, so they accept flex is needed in bikes. That video is going to be in a link somewhere down there from our helpful AD people working on the channel. But yeah, what do you reckon? That by far is the nicest bike I've seen yet at Eurobike 23. I know, you're probably expecting me to say something about the paddleboard, something about the trailer that should be carrying beer, and something about the fat bike, but actually, I really like this Kona workshop floor mat. That's bad, isn't it? Let's go and check out the rest of the bikes from Kona, shall we? Now here is a no-nonsense frame. So you're going to be able to get this as a frame or as a complete bike. It's the Kona Process X. It's a hooligan bike. This is a bike for someone who wants to thrash the pants off the thing, and basically is going to end up breaking loads of stuff and keep replacing it. This is alloy. As you can see, it's got external cable routing. Yes, someone challenging the status quo there. Coil shock on the rear. You can run it with 27.5-inch wheels or 29-inch wheels. The smaller frames will come when you buy them as a complete bike with 27.5-inch wheels. The bigger frames are going to come with 29 front and rear. Got 161 or 164mm travel. You get slightly more travel in the 27.5, the mullet style setup, and slightly less travel in the bigger wheel. There's not a lot else to say. Awesome platform, it's well thought out, it works so well, it's so supple, so supportive, and it's built for riders that are going to be breaking things like brakes in crashes and stuff. Nothing to worry about. Awesome frame. And they've also got the Process 153 just up here, which is going to be built up a bit later on today. So we're going to check it out now as a frame, and then we're going to come back and see it as a complete bike. So here it's going to have a pretty special build. Let's have a look at this one, shall we? And this is the Process 153 with a carbon frame. So classic single pivot, linkage driving the shark with a rocker here. Again, you can change between 27.5 and 29-inch wheels, depending on your fancy there. Got a seat stay pivot, you've got UDH on the back, you've got international standard chain guide mounts, and you've got, thankfully, regular internal cable routing. Yes! Love it when people are just doing things that make a little bit more sense. It's got channels all the way through, so you feed the hose in, comes out the other end, no fuss. It's a Kona, they work. You could argue that ODI grips are probably the most popular grips, at least when it comes to downhill market and actual racers using the grips. See a lot of riders using different tyres from what they're supposed to be doing, using the old Sharpie on them. See the same thing with grips. There's loads of different options on the market. They obviously popularised the lock-on technology, and they're now using single collars, lightweight section, and they've got built-in end caps. And as you probably noticed, this is the Van Signature grip. They actually released the Van Signature grip ages ago, and I've still got some really old ones that are worn out. I'm stoked to see these ones back now, especially in the gum, although they have got some very cool other options. These are going to be available from July the 1st. I'm in the queue for a set of these. These are super cool. Okay, so one of the first things we've seen here at Eurobike 2023 is this lovely Bulls Blackadder team. So cross-country hardtail bike, carbon frame, in fact, absolutely beautiful. The construction on this, when you look at the weave of the carbon, a few nice points to look at here. The bar and stem on here, it's got the Rumble integrated bar and stem. And although it does have that cable routing that does, you could say controversially, going through the headset there, it's quite neat in a way. It's got a shroud system. It reminds me a little bit of the way Scott do things. So for those that don't know, a lot of manufacturers are choosing to go in through the upper part of the headset underneath the stem there. It's a nice direct routing, but it can cause some hassles with setting the cables up. But these ones actually look really quite simplified here. Nice little port. And also, if you look up front here, this appears to be a brand new RockShox SID SL Ultimate. So we haven't actually seen a production version of this fork yet. We've seen Nino Schurter winning races on a version that appears to have flight attendant on it, but this is yet another model. It's got a slightly different crown with some sort of material taken away off the top here. You've got chamfered in lower legs here, creating space, a little bit like what we've seen from the Fox forks with the step cast system down the bottom there. We don't yet know any more details about that until we go and see RockShox and SRAM, but I think this is quite cool to see something nice and early on, and the bike just looks fantastic. For a long time, you could say the Magic Mary has been one of the go-to tyres for downhill racers and people favouring the more aggressive style of racing, but there has been a new contender on the box that's just been released, the Taki Chan. So actually a bit of a weird name, considering the fact they've gone with alliteration for virtually everything they've done. The Nobby Nick, the Racing Ralph, Magic Mary, going for Taki Chan instead. So this was developed with the Commencal race team, who actually wanted a slightly different performing tyre to the Magic Mary, of which this is not replacing. So that will coexist and might well be a slightly better all-rounder than this. It's a bit more of a race-focused tyre. One of the good things you can see about this, it's got that real sturdy shoulder on there. You've got ramps on the leading edges, you've got siping everywhere on there. And also, interestingly, even though the Magic Mary is quite widely spaced, this, I'd say you've got more space between the shoulder and the central tread there to really carve an edge into the terrain. There you go, available in 27.5 and 29 inch, 2.4 to start with, and then you've got the options of the different Addicts compounds available. And this one, obviously, super tacky compound. Suits the name, Taki Chan. Awesome stuff. Once upon a time, well, actually, in about 2008, or maybe a little bit earlier than that, white was the colour that you had to have as the suspension fork on your bike. Now, yeah, I know that RockShox had Revelations and stuff that were white, and Fox obviously had 32s and 34s and stuff in white, but they weren't Mazocchi. Mazocchi bombers, 888s, all of that stuff. You've got a Z1 here, you've got the equivalent of the 888s back there, all in white. This reminds me of the Free Ride Entertainment days, all the New World Disorder films, and it's back. And it's kind of cool because it doesn't look that modern, which means it looks really modern, if that makes sense. Check it out, this is like just a nice trip for nostalgic reasons, but bringing it all bang up to date. And as you probably know, the Mazocchi platforms share the same technology and even made by Fox. So you'll know you're getting really good technology in these forks. You can get coil sprung versions of that Z1 as well. I've ridden those, unbelievably grippy. The amount of traction and support you get from those, but you can also choose to have it in air spring if that suits you better, using the same sort of grip technology damper that you see on some of the Fox products. Here's a downhill fork, of course, which just cast me back to my own, what would I have? An Intense Soakem. I had a pair of 888s in this colour on there. That would have been 26-inch wheels as well. Red decals on them, so a little bit different, but man, so it's good memories and quite cool to see some sort of earlier sort of tech styling coming back on brand new tech. I think it's really cool what Mazocchi are doing. It's nice to see them sort of back and firing. And then, of course, Mazocchi gave us the first dirt jumper fork, a fork specifically designed. It wasn't like a short travel version of a current fork. The original ones had an insanely thick crown steerer CSU unit, and it was bomb-proof. The whole fork was designed to be as strong as possible. These days they've slimmed down slightly because the rest of the fork base is just designed better, so it doesn't need to be quite as heavy as it used to be, but still a fork dedicated for dirt jumping. And off the back of that, then RockShox gave us the Argyle fork. Now that was the OG dirt jumper fork. Good to see it back. In fact, the fact that Mazocchi have been brazen enough to bring back white, I suspect you might see a sea of white appearing on other bikes. So you've got to think that there was white rims that everyone ran for a while. I mean, I still am in the camp that rims should just be black, you shouldn't mess with them, but hey, it was a fashion statement at one point. White handlebars was the thing, white stems. Race Face, in fact, who are just behind me over there, they used to make the Diabolus bar, stem and cranks in powder coated white for their pro riders. And in fact, I've got Darren Berracloth's old stem and cranks at home that I used to have on my old, what was it, Pink Cove peeler I used to have. Hideous coloured bike that I loved it, and I think everyone else kind of loved it, or maybe not, maybe they hated it. Anyway, I think white might be coming back. Watch this space. You can always count on Shimano to be showing off some seriously cool bikes, donning their gear on there. This one belongs to Camelbak. This is a Commencal Supreme downhill bike, and there's some very cool little bits on this. So, coming a little bit closer here, I'm going to show you some of the cool things. So down here you can see some bosses that are on both sides. Now on the left hand side, this one doesn't currently have it on, but we have seen it at some of the races this year with like a fender here that appears to be like some sort of scoop for funneling air towards that rear disc rotor. Now interestingly, Shimano have the freezer technology and ice tech with their rotors, but she's not using the freezer rotors on this particular bike, but it is using the Saint style banjo here, which has the much longer banjo fit in it to pull heat away from the caliper there. So just a few little interesting things going on. If you come around this side of the bike, there's also what you can see here with the chain guide. So there's a whole number of things going on here, all on the same bike. So you've obviously got the high pivot with the idler wheel that runs the chain over it, but you've got this sort of fender flap, which is similar to the one we've seen on the non-drive side, just in front of it here. Now I can't actually quite figure out what this does because of the fact there is actually a chain guide behind this as well, but maybe it's just additional. You've also got the STFU units here that Chris Kavarik famously champions, and there's also some of the VHS on here. So this bike must be completely silent in use. Obviously it's running Saint on here, it's got a Fox gear on there, but yeah, just some cool observations just pointing out the bike. Oh, and one last one you probably want to see is the rims. The Crankbrothers Synthesis, which we've seen before, and we know that the format of these, a little bit like the Zip 30 Motos, is running a rim on the rear that's stiffer, kind of stronger arguably, and the front one's all about vertical compliance and comfort. But look at the size of these. I've got to take measure to measure these, but these are seriously wide rims. We're going to go and check out what Crankbrothers got because we might get some more info on them. Always good to see a pro bike. A few more little pro things we've just noticed on the bike. So as well as using lock-on grips, they're wired on as well, which is moto style. If you don't know what I'm talking about with wire-on grips, there's going to be a video floating on down there where I talk about all the different ways that grips can be held on, and I'll show you about the safety wire system with special pliers. It's very cool, and it does enable you to use any grips and keep them on the bars. But there's also some hook and loop or Velcro on the underside here for extra traction, but it's not on the right-hand side, so only on the rider's left. So could be perhaps there's a weakness in the hand or a previous injury that just needs a little bit more traction on the bar for rough conditions. And also the seat stay bridge on the bike. We're starting to see this on many downhill bikes, offering different seat stay bridges to tune the flex and the compliance in the rear of the bike. I just love this stuff, like just the infinite things that you don't see when you first look at a bike. And in case you were wondering as well, when I said about the Ice Tech rotors on the rear, so one of the things that Shimano does with their braking systems is they've got various different ways to pull the heat away from a brake. Now the key to a brake working well is friction, of course. You need it, and you need the heat build up for it to work. However, too much heat and you get brake fade, you get problems that arise. So you've got these finned brake pads here. As I said, you've got this extended banjo from the Saint system that's been sort of grafted onto here. And then you've got the rotors, so these ones have steel braking tracks and an alloy spider designed to pull the heat away. But there's also the freezer rotors, which have a slightly different construction. They've got some on this bike here. So the freezer rotors are actually a sandwich construction. You've got an alloy spider here, and you've got alloy braking fins, and then you've got a steel rotor track. So the braking is done on the steel, but the alloy pulls that heat away. And then these ones even have the special paint on them that further helps dissipate the heat. There's a video all about the Shimano technologies, because some of it can be confusing because they've got a lot of stuff. There's one of those floating around down there in the links underneath this video. Right, let's go and find some more stuff, because I hear there's some cool new shoes from Shimano as well. As you may well know, Shimano are famous for the SPD pedal, the Shimano Pedaling Dynamics clipless pedal with the little retaining clip that goes in the underside of the shoe. They're also famous for having a very varied range of shoes. They've got the GR series, they've got the MW series, and now they've got the EX series. So it's explorer focused for those that really want to get out there in the hills. And what I'm actually thinking of is the person holding that camera right now that have to come and film us all around the world, up mountains, down mountains, and spend time off the bike as well as on it. Gore-Tex upper on here. Appears to be some real tough fabric, could be Kevlar, doesn't actually say. Boa strap system, they've got high tops, they've got low tops, they've got strap versions with lace retainers. That to me looks like an excellent shoe for bike packing, touring, and actually I think just all-round mountain biking. Awesome stuff to see something a little bit different from Shimano. So kids bikes, as you well know, are really important to me because I believe in the future of the sport. If we're not getting kids on really good bikes to start with, they're not going to be able to develop. And I've already referenced this with Jackson Goldson being the first of a generation of kids on a run-along bikes coming through. From now on, it's all changed. The best riders in the world are coming through from the juniors. And it's bikes like this that they start on. So this is from Patrol, so 541. I mean, look at the thing. Little tiny 24-inch wheels, but proper Maxxis Mini and DHR tyres, proper wheels on there, proper suspension, a lovely suspension system on here, using a 4-bar as well, so it's going to work well. And, well, unfortunately, Manitou are the only brand currently offering a proper suspension fork. So, I mean, it's obviously the best one, but it's got proper damping on there. Manitou are also offering other components for kids. They're doing handlebars, they're doing various things. All the other manufacturers need to kind of step up, I think, and support junior bikes just like this. So Patrol, you can also get this in 650B or 27.5 inch, and it's exactly the same as the adult version of the bike, just scaled down for the kids. Awesome stuff. Come on everyone, step it up a bit. So the problem of working on your bike can be difficult if you live in a flat apartment and you just don't have the space. So if your bike, for example, has drops, maybe it's a gravel bike, or if you've got computers and stuff in your bars, maybe it's an e-bike, something like that, flipping the bike upside down to work, and it doesn't always work, so you can damage some of that stuff. Topeak, you've got a little solution called the up stand. It's two of these, almost like little tripods that sit under your bars. They've got like hook and loop straps that go over the top, and they've got a little wrap to put them in basically, so you can store them. That goes under your seat so you don't scuff up the back of your seat. Super simple, there's nothing more to it than that, but just a nice approach. Do you know what, I say this every year, it bugs me that Topeak just come out with new tools constantly. I don't know how they do it. Now let's go and have a look at something that's called a tune-up station. You're going to like this one over here. So the next sort of size up from having a full-size work stand to hang your bike in, don't forget they take up a lot of room, is something like this. So they've had the tune-up station or tune-up stand for a long time that just holds the chain stay and the seat stay of your bike there, holds the back wheel off the ground so you can work on your gears, you can clean your chain, your transmission and stuff like that. But this is the latest version of it. So this is the full station. You've got swing out tool trays on here, so you actually can feel like a bit of a pro mechanic at home, which is great. But then there's a little secret weapon hidden down here in the bottom. If your bike's an e-bike, or if you've got any electronic tools and things like that you need to store for charging your bike, they can sit in down here. It's also got a bit of tool storage, so you can just neaten up your stuff, essentially. I think it's a really nice idea, especially if, like I say, if you're living in somewhere that hasn't got the space or the storage of a full-size workshop. Again, awesome stuff from Topeak. Gotta love it. I love a ratchet. I love the little ratchet rocket. It's one of my favourite tools from Topeak. I use these things all the time, especially useful in places like trying to get bolt cage bolts out and annoying places on the bike. But the fact it comes with a bit set means it's super useful, and it's a flat storage thing, so fits in a pocket, fits in your hip pack, whatever. But now this one has gone a step further from what they've had in the past. They've had the little bits that go on the end so you can set them to 5, 6 or 4 Newton meters or whatever it is you need for yours, but now they've got a digital torque setting on here. Now this thing is super cool. So it will do anything up to 10 Newton meters on the display, and just by basically doing it as hard as you need to, you can see your Newton meters and settings. And it's digital. Look at this. It's so cool how this works. Dead simple as well. No more messing around with multiple bits on a system like this, just that one component, and then use it with Torx T25, T27, 6mm, 5mm, 4mm, whatever it is you need. Modular style approach. Brilliant. Here at the Hope Technology stand, obviously Hope are really famous for making disc brakes, made in Barnoldswick in the UK. Most recently they launched these new drop and post levers using a real good heavy duty cartridge bearing in there. You can direct mount them straight to Hope brake levers if that tickles your fancy. But the very cool thing about these that no one else seems to have is you can adjust the amount of leverage on there. So you can have them feeling sort of punchy, and you can have it feeling a bit more vague with more lever throw or less lever throw, depending on what your fancy is. Super nice. Reach adjustment on there and leverage adjustment. Don't really see that very often. And being Hope, they come in every colour under the sun. Well, actually, all the colours that Hope offer in all their stuff. Probably the nicest drop and post lever on the market, I'd say. What do you reckon? Always good to see Camelbak moving with the times. Of course, when their first original Camelbak came out, it was all about carrying the water on your back. We were trying to lose the weight off the bikes and carry more water. Obviously, bike technology has evolved, as have riding disciplines. So many people are choosing to use water bottles again and choosing to use hip packs. Camelbak are making everything out there. And now they're moving into the gravel market, and this actually is a product that makes more sense to me than anything else I've seen with gravel. Be able to store your water on the bike, but in a slightly alternative way. It still leaves you room to carry stuff on your back, not having to put the water on the back, whether that's cameras or further camping gear, whatever it is. It's just nice to see. Really decent bar bag on there as well, and a decent seat pack as well, to stuff your sleeping bag in there or whatever you need to, if you're camping your bivvy perhaps. So it's also got a multi-use reservoir as well, which is a really cool thing. So like with many Camelbaks, you can remove the extra reservoir for cleaning and filling it up. But the way you fill it up, you've also got a valve on here so you can drink from there as well as filling it straight up. Now that's brilliant. Why have they not done that before on all Camelbaks? Great idea. That means you can fill it up, you can take it into your tent with you and use it as a water pouch to drink out of. It's got its own handle. That is awesome. Love it. You can always count on Eurobike to deliver a great prototype, and this one is from Lyte Bikes. This is the E140 Lyte, so L-Y-T-E, just like white. And it's using that new Bosch lightweight system on here. So it's a mid-power system delivering 55 Newton meters of torque with a 600 watt-hour battery. It's full power, but mid-torque. So a very different platform, and you're going to hear Jones over on GMBN talking a lot about this bike in the coming days. But in case you don't know, Lyte is a brand that is basically born in the UK, and as a result of that, they've got some really great features. Rubber gasket sealing here, more gasket sealing down at the back there, etc. Awesome bike. Keep an eye on GMBN for the video about now, actually. That's the end of day one. I tell you what, I always forget how much stuff there is here at Eurobike. It's just insane. It's such a big place to just even cover and talk about bike stuff. I'd love to know what you thought was the best thing from today's video, and if you thought that was good, just wait until tomorrow's video, because you saw so much stuff. We've even covered tomorrow's video, and tomorrow we're going to be shooting for the day after that. Let us know in the comments below. I want to go out there and I don't know, go and jump in a cold pond or something. See you in another video soon. Don't forget to check out the links I've referred to in this video. Adios.